Hey team, this is Nathan from RunDreamAchieve.com. I hope you all are doing well and your training's going very well for you. Today's topic I want to go over how to maintain 8-minute mile marathon pace. That comes out to a 3-hour and 30-minute marathon. So a lot of you athletes out there that are trying to sustain this pace, kudos to you. It's a very, very competitive time. In fact, I've even created a course for athletes that are trying to break the 3-hour and 30-minute marathon barrier. And I'll leave the link for that course below this video in the description. I think when it comes to the marathon training, like I talk about in other videos, you have to be patient with yourself. If you don't have patience in this particular event, especially if you're trying to run a time this competitive, it's going to be a long process for you all. I think if you think long term, if you're patient in your training and you are preparing properly for your races, you're going to be able to sustain 8-minute mile marathon pace longer. And the key to do that is to train at, I know it's easier said than done, but to spend a higher percentage of your weekly volume training at closer down towards 7-minute mile pace. So again, the long-term goal here is to make sure that you get that 8-minute mile marathon pace to feel easier, to feel more sustainable. And regardless how fit we are, you are going to be hurting, especially in the last 10 kilometers of that race. It's still going to be challenging regardless how fit you are. But the key tactics to get 8-minute mile marathon pace to feel more sustainable and to be able to slow down less than your competition is to do longer long runs, to do faster long runs, to focus on a buildup of 16 to 20 weeks rather than, say, 8 to 12 weeks. It's very important when you're building up for a marathon not to be in a rush, okay? When you first, the way I set up my training plans and the running courses that I teach is we focus on periodization. We focus on stressing the athlete's body from 3 to 4 weeks, for 3 to 4 weeks straight at a specific intensity before we start moving to the next intensity. And then again, we focus on the next intensity for 3 to 4 weeks. And again, moving on from aerobic phase training to specific marathon training to speed development training and into the taper phase, which lasts 10 days. If you have not tried this in the past, one of the best recommendations I can give you is to not start dropping your volume and your intensity 3 weeks out leading into your marathon. Okay, a lot of athletes think that dropping mileage and volume 21 days out from their marathon will make sure that they go in rested. And in a lot of cases, this does work. A 3-week taper, I've seen a lot of athletes get personal bests with 3-week tapers. So I'm not saying necessarily that it's not going to work for you. I just know that every time I did a 10-day taper, I started dropping volume and my intensity up. I kept my volume high and my intensity high up until 10 days out from my main marathon. I always went in and set new personal bests from 10 miles I set 5-mile personal best, 10-mile, half marathon, and marathon personal best using this strategy. So if you haven't done that in the past and you're trying to run 8-minute mile marathon pace or 3 hours and 30 minutes for the marathon, trying to break that barrier, start implementing a new way of doing your taper phase. Because again, you want to go in feeling rested and feel energized. You don't want to go in feeling tired, and it plays on you psychologically as well. A lot of athletes think that, man, I've done everything possible, in training to get this 8-minute mile marathon pace to feel easier. I started dropping my volume and my intensity. I did the 3-week taper and I went into the race and I felt tired. I got in 10 miles in the race and I felt like I wanted to drop out. So it's a lot of different factors that go into breaking a 3-hour and 30-minute marathon. I do believe that doing longer tempo runs and running for longer durations up, closer from, starting off initially running around anywhere from 2 to 4 miles for your tempo run, because again, you have to start somewhere. And when you're not as anaerobically fit, it's very hard to even do a 2-mile tempo run. And we all know this, regardless what background you have or how competitive you are, you have to first spend, 3 to 4 weeks running base mileage, doing strides, 2 to 3 times a week, working on your acceleration drills, focusing on laying the foundation of your mileage, of your marathon buildup before you start working into speed development workouts and specific training. Because again, this is a long-term process. to break 3 hours and 30 minutes, to hold 8-minute mile marathon pace, and to do it effectively and to run at that pace longer than your competition, you have to focus on a longer build-up. You have to focus on doing longer long runs. If your longest long run in the past, say it's been 15 miles, you have to start thinking about going 22 to 23 miles. I do think there's a point of diminished return where, if you start, the longest run I did leading into the 2011 Monumental Indianapolis Marathon, I kid you not, I did a 30 miler. I did a 50K in 3 hours, 2 minutes, and 5 seconds. I think it was like 5:53 mile pace for 31 miles during a training run. That's too far when you're training for the marathon, in my opinion. You don't need to go that far preparing for a 3 hour and 30-minute marathon. But I do believe that if your longest long run is, say, 16 or 17 miles, yes, you can still get legitimate results going that far training for a marathon, but you also need to experience what it feels like to run close to marathon distance or even further than the marathon distance for your long runs. So longer long runs is key. Faster long runs is absolutely essential if you want to run under 3 hours and 30 minutes and to maintain sub 8-minute mile marathon pace. I think a big mistake athletes make is they spend too much time running too aerobically on their weekend long runs, and yes, they're building their strength, they're building their endurance, but stamina, what you want the most is to be able to sustain that pace and to be able to handle very high amounts of lactic acid and to be able to teach the body to clear that lactic acid faster that's building up. So, a big mistake, again, athletes make is we spend so much time focusing on volume and we minimize the importance of quality work. The best middle to long distance runner, the athletes from Kenya, the Olympians I've trained with over the years, they spend a great deal of time training at very, very high anaerobic efforts. So of course they make it look easy. They've been doing it for a long period of time. If you've had challenges in the past breaking a certain barrier for the marathon distance or whatever distance it is, sometimes it's a psychological barrier. Sometimes it's just a matter of changing up your strategy and how you've been preparing in the past. If you look at your training logs and see that, hey, I'm putting in the mileage, but I'm only running about 20% of my weekly volume, training at 8-minute mile marathon pace or training well below that pace. That's something you have to consider, because again, if you're putting in the work, yes, you know how to work hard. But the key thing is with RunDreamAchieve.com, the philosophy that I have is you focus on using leverage. We've all been taught how to work hard. The hardest workers don't always get the best results. We see this in athletics. We see this outside of athletics. How many hardworking, employees, hardworking people do you know that are broke? People that are working their tails off. They're highly disciplined, they're highly educated, but they're having problems paying their bills. The problem is failed philosophy. They've been taught how to work hard. They have not been, they've been taught how to work extremely hard for money, but they have not been taught how to make money work hard for them. That's using leverage, getting to a point where you're earning residual income rather than having to continue to show up every day and start over every single day. So it happens outside of athletics and it happens inside of athletics. What I see with how it pertains to running and how it pertains to running marathons is if you're running too aerobically and you're putting in consistent high mileage weeks, but you're not zeroing in and you're not really nailing the goal marathon race pace that you're aiming for, and you're not spending enough time each week training well below that, you're not going to teach the body to improve its lactate tolerance. Okay? You're going to be very strong endurance-wise, but you're not going to be able to sustain that sub 8-minute mile marathon pace that you're going for. So keep these things in mind. I hope these strategy tips and running tips are helpful for you all, regardless of where you're at, whether you're trying to break 3 hours and 30 minutes, or you're trying to run a specific time in the 800 meter or the mile or the 2 mile distance. Continue to focus on the other essential components of running a fast marathon time: mental training, practicing drinking rather than just sipping in your long runs in training. Make sure that you're dropping out water bottles every 3 miles. Drive your course first, drop the water bottles out every 3 miles. That way you can drink when you're going out, practice drinking, and then practice drinking coming back. Put some gels in your shorts, even in training. Another strategy is making sure that you're ingesting some calories during these long runs, and sometimes do some long runs without ingesting any calories, because sometimes, again, you want to train the body to burn fat at race pace and to conserve what you have much less of, and that is carbohydrates. At any given time, we only have about 1,700 to 1,800 calories of glycogen stored up in our body at any given time. So a lot of athletes hit the wall right around mile 17 or 18. And again, we hit the wall for various reasons. One of the biggest reasons is we're running far too anaerobically too soon in the race. We go out far too fast. And again, we have not trained sufficiently to sustain that pace in training. And then we get into the race, we don't hold the pace we were aiming for, and then we start second guessing ourselves. We start doubting ourselves, when really it has nothing to do with us not being able to achieve the goal. It's just a matter of changing the tactics in training. You have to spend a higher percentage of time training much faster than goal race pace. You have to spend time training at your anaerobic threshold, which is, you're going to be racing right around this effort or slightly above your anaerobic threshold. So it's very important to get that tempo run out from starting off at like 2 to 3 miles and getting that out to around 10 to 14 miles in length, or 16 to 25 kilometers in length. Getting that tempo run out longer is going to help you psychologically as well, because again, you've trained your body sufficiently. You're putting in easy aerobic base mileage. You're running slow enough on your easy days so that you recover from the hard training you're doing, but you're also focusing on your speed development. You're doing that VO2 max workout per week. You're doing like I said, your tempo runs. You're training longer periods of time at your anaerobic threshold. And you're doing your long runs. You're alternating a faster long run followed the next week by an easy, relaxed long run. This is very, very important. If you don't get anything else out of this video, make sure you change this tactic in your training. If you want to hold sub 8-minute mile marathon pace, make sure that you alternate your training, alternate your long runs. Easy one week, hard, faster, a mixture of faster, varied paces in your long run the following week. That's why I created the training plans and the running courses on RunDreamAchieve.com. Definitely consider that in terms of your next build-up. It's much easier to either hire a coach. I coach athletes online through the private running community. The training plans and the running courses take the guesswork out of your preparation. They help you in terms of at least having a general idea of what types of workouts you need to be doing to break the 3 hour and 30 minute marathon barrier. And it also takes, like I said, it takes the guesswork out of your preparation. That's why I created the sub 3 hour marathon blueprint course as well. So definitely check that out as well. It might be something that you're interested in. I go through the specifics from heart rate monitor training, mental preparation, a lot of other tactics that you should be following and really paying attention to in order to break this barrier. And that course ends with a 16-week sub 3 hour 30-minute marathon training schedule. So if you have any other questions regarding this particular time, feel free, or the marathon or any distance, any problem that you have, anything that's giving you an issue, let me know in the comment section below. I'll definitely reach back out to you all. As you know, my objective is always to respond to every single commenter that comes to this channel. Of course, there's other athletes out there. There's a lot of other great YouTubers out there. But one thing I will make sure that I always commit to is the athletes that come to this channel. Anybody that leaves a comment, I will reach back out to you. And sometimes I miss them, but I always go through meticulously and try to find every single commenter and make sure that I at least write something back to you all, because I mean, it means everything to hear from you all as well. I want to make sure that you're getting new personal best and that you're performing at the highest level possible. So I wish you all the best in your pursuit of holding this 8-minute mile marathon pace. I know it's tough. I know breaking 3 hours and 30 minutes will be a challenge. But just know that if you're putting that mental preparation in, you're training 10 to 15 minutes mentally during your 16-week buildup, you're paying attention to your nutrition, getting proper sleep, drinking rather than sipping in your races, you're training at faster paces, you're training a higher percentage of your volume at or below goal race pace, and you're paying attention to those easy recovery runs, there's no excuse why you can't eventually break the sub 3 hour 30-minute marathon barrier. It's just a matter of time. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when you do this. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you all and hearing you about your new personal best, and I will talk to you all in the next video.